Hello and welcome to our exam preparation series. Today we'll be looking at how to prepare for HOTS questions using the technique by looking into similar stories. I want to begin with this. Why is it so important to look at these similar passages in the book of Luke and the book of Acts? I'm going to use an example from Luke today. Now, you notice in Luke that there are many similar stories. According to their theme, according to the styles. For example, money, we see that there are 3 parables about it. There are 5 times where Jesus cast out an evil spirit. There are a lot of incidents regarding the Sabbath. Jesus told 3 parables about the prayer, and so on and so forth. Okay, so we know that in Luke there are a lot of similarities between different passages. Now, we will want to look first at some Pastiest questions. Now, looking at some Pastiest questions, just by regarding Sabbath, you notice that they do ask it like this before. Narrate the healing of the man with an unclean spirit, 6 marks. That's from chapter 4. Narrate the healing of in Simon's home. Narrate the healing at sunset. Now, all of these 3 incidents, while happening one after another, it's something that happens due to a story in Sabbath. So they like to ask questions together that has to do with a certain topic or a certain similarity. So by answering and looking at similar passages, you are able to help yourself, prepare yourself for exam, so that when they do ask 2 different stories, you are able to still answer them well. Okay, so another example, Jesus' disciples plucking grain on the Sabbath. That's 5 marks. And the healing of the man with the paralyzed hand, that's another 5 marks. Remember, this is according to the old format, where the essay is only 15 marks. That's why you see that the total marks is about 10 or 10 plus. Another question, the man whose right hand was paralyzed, comparing with the man whose legs and arms were swollen. Different chapters, but asked in the same question. Some other examples from Pastiest. They compare 2 different stories, one from chapter 5 and chapter 8, the miraculous catch of fish, with the stilling of the storm in one single question. The parable of the friend at midnight, together with the parable of the Pharisees and tax collector. Again, different chapters, but same questions. Healing of the man with a skin disease. Again, healing of the 10 men with the skin disease happened at different time of the story, one in chapter 5 and the other in chapter 17, but together in the same questions and to make up 15 marks in total. So you notice that in all the Pastiest questions, comparing different stories and asking them in the same question is quite common. That is why we need to prepare ourselves for all these things so that we don't only know how to answer one question but not the other, making it such that we are unable to score high marks in that one question. All right. And one last example in Pastiest, at Levi's house, comparing with another tax collector's house. So they 2 different houses but asking the same question. Now, this is not the Simon the Pharisee's house, okay? So you notice that sometimes our brain cannot remember stories distinctively from the other story, and it begins to mess 2 stories and merge 2 stories into the same story. So to avoid that, when you look at all these similar passages side by side, you are able to avoid and overcome some of these confusing similar stories. Let me give you some example. For example, the parable of the wedding feast compared with the parable of the great feast. Which one is about humility and which one is about Jesus' second coming? You see, if you don't do it together side by side, sometimes students confuse one story with the other. The question may ask from the wedding feast, and the students give the answer from the great feast. The question asks you to write a story of the great feast, and the students write from the parable of the wedding feast. What happened is that you may actually lose everything. You may lose all the marks because you are rewriting the wrong story. Another example, parable of the rich fool with the parable of the rich man and Lazarus. How do you differentiate these stories? The parable of the moneylender and the 2 debtors with the parable of the shrewd manager. sometimes it's confusing which story is about what guy, you know? And taking the servant story, parable of the watchful servants, parable of the faithful and unfaithful servants, parable of the wicked tenants. Now, which one is about the guy that that was given a gold coins? None. It's not even this. So if you don't put all this side by side, it's very easy to misunderstand and write a story from another story that the question did not ask for. So to avoid all this, we prepare it like this. Now, let me give you some more extras. A man with an evil spirit and a boy with an evil spirit. How do you differentiate? Now, this one is so similar. A lot of the actions are the same. The evil spirit threw the man down, the evil spirit threw the boy down, and you begin to get confused. Now, which is which? By putting them side by side, you can memorize and remember both stories better, and you can separate the stories. And when you rewrite it, it will be easier for you to answer the questions, all right? Healing of the Roman officer's servant, healing of Jairus' daughter. Which one died? One was alive, the other one died. Which one is which, you know? So the woman who suffered from severe bleeding, the woman was bent over. Which one was which one? You know, a lot of times we cannot differentiate it anymore. Parable of the faithful and unfaithful servants, I think I've given just now. This is not the parable of the gold coin. Sometimes when we think of the faithful and unfaithful servants, we may think that, oh, I know this one. This is the one that God gave them 1 coin, 2 coins, 3 coins. No, that's the gold coin. And some people, when they see the parable of the gold coin, they think that it is the parable of the lost coin. This is not the lost coin. So by separating all these things, by putting similar stories together, you differentiate them more effectively, okay? So it is very important. Make sure you do it. Watch the other videos as well. I'll be giving some examples on how to do this well, okay? Thank you very much. That's all for today. See you all next time.